Hi, I'm Ginny Alexander, host for today's Veterans Corner. We have a few issues to discuss, and with me is my pal JT. And I want to give you a statistic that I'm sure you have no idea, and I'm going to have to read it. There are 22 to 28 veterans a day taking their lives here in America. If you find that as unacceptable as I do, think about what changes you could help
to minimize it.
To minimize this. And so let's talk a little bit about changing, not that we can change it, but the VA system. What do you feel might be the deficiencies now that could be changed to make things easier for veterans coming home that may have problems?
I mean, there's just a host of things that they could do. But let's just start off with one simple one. Evaluate that soldier or Marine or airman or sailor or Coast Guardsman to the fullest when they come in. One of the things that I've seen upon returning, and you do what's called an SRP, and I just can't remember what the acronym stands for, but every military man and woman goes through that when they return back from theater.
I don't want to interrupt, but is that a mental evaluation, a physical evaluation?
It is not, and that's one of the issues. I think that in the SRP is your initial check-in, pretty much coming back, checking, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure that making sure that your documents or medical documents and whatnot that you have that you established or injuries that you sustained, say in combat zone, that they're recorded. Any injuries that you think that you might have sustained, whether they're physical or mental, anything of that sort. At that SRP, it's written down. But what happens is, think about this: you have 200 to 300 veterans that are coming back from theater. They put you in this big auditorium. There's desks all over the place with other admin personnel from the military, and you have to go table by table by table to check off that list. And you're not going to be able to leave that place until you've met the requirements of seeing every single one in that area. They do this as a quick check-in pretty much when you come in, and then they let you go for about a couple weeks, 3 weeks, so that you could, do a little bit of R&R, and then what they do is they put in another 3 or 4 day consecutives at a much larger facility, which bring more resources in. Those resources that come at that second level or second phase, it's not no one-on-one doctor, because you're talking there's thousands of veterans there. So they don't have that. So my thing is, when you get to your SRP point and they're coming home, that you have to throw more mental counselors at that, mental or physical counselors at that section. Because a lot of veterans, when you come back and you've been gone for a year, the one thing you want to do is you want to go down the check, and it's like, hurry up, sign this, I gotta go. You're at the next table. Hey, hurry up, sign this, I gotta go. So our mindset is not to stay there. We've been gone for a whole year. Right. We want to come back home. We want to eat a nice hot warm, get a nice bathe.
And nobody anticipates they may have a problem.
No, not then. I mean, they know.
Being rehabilitated.
Yeah, and let's be real. People know when you come back from a combat zone and you've seen, your actual in action, you're not going to come back the person you were. And being themselves military personnel, they know that, right? But again, they can't force it upon a veteran. When a veteran sits in front of you and says, have you have any thoughts of suicide? No. Have you had any physical of it? No. Are you sleeping better? No. Are you sleeping good? No. You see what I'm saying? So they're going down the list. It's more like repetitions. It's literally like a robotic scene. They just ask the question.
Nobody wants to admit that might be a possibility. Exactly. But then they might keep them.
Exactly. And they will. I think they will. But I think they need to be a little bit more forceful when they do that SRP, especially now. It's just a disservice to our veterans that have to die here in American soil when you come back from a battle zone, right?
So what you're saying is really there's no rehabilitation, I want to call it rehabilitation, into civilian life, back into civilian life per se.
In totality, I can't say that. because there is some elements in place. It's whether or not that individual veteran wants to take advantage of that. Okay, so we have to be able to learn these signs, and as a professional, you should. I am not a subject matter expert on reading anybody's anger cues or body language, but as professionals, and you're doing this job day in, day out, there has to be some type of training where you could at least detect, ask a few questions a different way, I guess. I don't know. But I don't think it should be that difficult. I really do think that it starts there. And a lot of it is missed there. So when you do have a person that wants to, not to be graphic, but let's be honest, blow his brains off, then he wants to get the heck out of there, away from his brothers and sisters, away from that, military orientated facility, and go on his own and do what he has to do. So that specific moment when they come in front of you, we have to ask. We just have to come up with a better way on it and identifying that. And if you have an inch of suspicion that veteran's not doing well, then it's your duty, it's your obligation to hold him back. He might not be happy about it. I know I wouldn't. But at the long run, you're probably saving that person's life. To take 22, they're saying 22 lives are being taken by their own hands here in American soil. I think it's more than that. I really do. Yeah. And even so, even if it was 22, even if it was 10, even if it was 1, that's still, in a month, that's 30 lives in a month. That's more deaths than we have in a combat zone right now, and it shouldn't happen. It just shouldn't happen, plain and simple. I know that they're not, the VA has a lot of work to do. But I also throw it at the commanders, for each unit. I also throw it at the, adjutant generals here in Massachusetts or across the states to, assert their rights and say, no, we're going to take it a step further. And if you don't like it, then that's tough,
So this would all fall under the VA?
Not that part. That part will fall under actually the command. Because the command is the first one that gets to see these veterans when they're coming back, because you have to do a lot of administration paperwork, and it's a lot. It's a lot. Sometimes you're talking 2 days, and the lines. That going to combat is probably the easy part. Going before into battlefield with all the paperwork and everything you have to deal with, that's just a pain in the rear. It is. I see that back then now, but I understand now the significance behind that. And I was one of those when I got back. I was like, nope, no, yes, no. They didn't engage in conversations. It was just like reading from, a script. And I think that's one of the missing links. I think people that in that situation should really take a little bit more time. I understand that now instead of 1 day, it might go into 2 days or 3 days. But if that's what it takes to save a life, it's going to be a matter of getting together with the commanders, getting together with the staff NCOs and the NCOs, ICs, and non-commissioned officers in charge, and implementing new change. It has to change. If it doesn't, we're going to continue to see the rising deaths of our soldiers here in American soil.
This is coming from somebody that really, I don't know anything about this. How long do you think a soldier knows when he comes home, he or she comes home, that he'll have problems? Or do they come home thinking, I'm really fine? How long does it take in general? I know there's no hard and set time for them to realize I'm not doing that well.
No, there isn't. But the horrible thing about PTSD or combat PTSD, it doesn't surface right away. That's a problem, right? It might take you a year, it might take you 5 years, it might take you 7, it might take you 10, it might take you 20 years. So it doesn't surface right away. So it's really hard to gauge that. And I get, if we had a crystal ball, then that'd be great, but we don't. Do I think that some of the veterans that are coming back feel some type of abnormality? Yes. But they won't chuck it up as, or at least in my case, let me not speak for everybody, at least in my case, I won't chuck it up that as I have a problem. I think I'm going to chuck it up as the things I've seen or did, right? And that'll go away. But it doesn't. It just resonates with you. So, to answer your question, do the majority of the veterans think that they're gonna, 5 years down the road, slip and fall down the ladder and have all these underlining problems. I don't really think so. I mean, if you could foresee that, I think that they would do something. I mean, it took me a long time to even get up there and have the courage to just ask for help. So again, it's very, Jenny, it's not, the government sometimes just makes things difficult. And a lot of times they help, so I'm like in the middle of the fence with this one.
Right.
But we owe it to these young men and women, and also our old timers, and I say that again as a form of endearment. But we owe it to them. We owe it to them to really look into this. Now, I was thinking, unfortunately, we had a brother that took his own life about a couple of weeks ago, and that kind of hit me hard because I didn't know the guy, but nonetheless, he was a brother at arms, and he was local, and so that I was asked to help with the burials and funeral and all that, but. He was back already, like 5 years, 6 years, after all that, and he just took his life not too long ago, 2 weeks ago. I think that one thing that we should do immediately, and again, is that we're not going to eradicate it, like you said, that it's, the situation is going to dictate, and we're not going to be there all times, but. Like across the states, they have what's called the women's battered shelters, right? Women's battered shelters, and for good reason, because domestic violence, obviously, in this country is getting out of control, and that's another issue for another show. But it needs to be addressed as well because it's getting really out of control. Perfect example is that young lady that just was killed a few weeks ago in Methuen, and Vilma and Martha Velez in the city of Lawrence. They're spearheading the March of Brides.
They do a wonderful job.
So we got to help them and give them a platform as well to be able to talk about that because I think again it's crucially important. But I'm using that analogy, right? In every state they have a women's battered shelter and. That's open 24 hours a day for any women that feel threatened or have been battered to go into there and feel that they're in a safe zone, right? In that safe zone, you're going to have peer specialists that are trained to help you. Maybe not take all your pain away, maybe not resolve your problem right there and then, but be able to comfort you and understand where you're coming from so that they can lead you over to the other side versus, trying to take your own life. So if we have that in every city, and let's choose Massachusetts, because first of all, Massachusetts is leading the way when it comes down to veteran services. And many other people don't see that because there's still some work to do. But let me be quite frank. Massachusetts does lead the way when it comes down to veteran services. We're the only state that has veteran services. Well, correction, 2 states. Massachusetts is one state that has veteran service officers in every city. I mean, there has to be a certain level of population in order to have a veteran service officer in that city. But we do. And California is actually the second one. There's nowhere else that they have veteran service officers. So why can't we find a small location the size of this studio, if not smaller, just to be able to put a cot, couple meals, put a TV, and then put a sentry there or put someone on post for, around the clock. Call it, I don't know, Veterans Safe Haven, if you want to call it. But be able to give an outlet to our veterans out here that if they don't want to call that 1-800 crisis number, or they don't want to text that 1-800 text number for, you're having a crisis, or don't want to go into the VA, that they could just drive up, go into this location, and people that are there to be trained that if someone walks through that door, that they're at the ends with. That now it's do or die. So keep that person there. Talk to them, give him some food, give him a comfortable pillow, a blanket, let him relax, let him know that he's safe, and pick up the phone and dial 911 and get the emergency personnel there, just like they do in a lot of women's battered shelters, right? Women's battered shelters obviously are going much further now, which is great. They have social workers and they have all that. But that's what I was thinking. I think it's a very easy fix, and I don't think they should privatize it. I think that the federal government or the state government to oversee that, just like they have a SAVE team or they had a SHARP team before, bring a Veteran Safe Haven location. I think if you take the money out of it and don't let other nonprofit agencies fight for that money, right? I think it's going to be a lot easier to execute, because now what's going to happen, it's turning into a money thing now, right? And it's not about money, it's about life. It's about preserving life. So if you have a bunch of executive directors that are going after the same grant or the same funds to establish a place like this, now one is going to go and, put himself over the cloud because, I do this and I think I'm more worthy of doing it, or you have that little unknown organization like ours that says, no, okay, we don't take any funds for administration, but we'll do the competition. It just will throw all this off rank. This needs to be established, and it needs to be overseen by either I think the Department of Veteran Services here in the state of Massachusetts, or the VA, either one, or have it overseen by the Veteran Service Officer of each city. Use that as a pilot program and see how it goes. But that's my opinion on that. I think we won't be able to eliminate it, but I'll guarantee you we'll be able to save more lives.
There are so many extenuating circumstances, though, because every person that comes back from a combat theater,
don't see combat. Not everybody that comes
or
back.
Anybody that comes back,
Yeah.
they have a different feeling about it. But there are many things that would contribute to you wanting to kill yourself.
Sure.
I mean, it isn't just
Bad relationship, no job,
no home,
not being able to go to school.
Maybe some of these things should be
Not enough
addressed.
fines. Yeah. They should. They really should. But my opinion is that we should first of all understand what region they came from, understand the sector they were in, understand the amount of missions they've done, or what kind of missions they've done. Was that area constantly under attack? Was it not under attack? So it plays a big part, right? Because not everybody that went to Iraq was in Tikrit or were Mosul, or some people were back in the as I say, in the rear, in the FOB, forward operating base, which is so much larger. And not to say that they weren't in danger. So before somebody calls me and say you don't know what you're talking about, I'm not saying that. I'm saying being in that country anyway, as Americans, you have to be with your head in a swivel. But a FOB versus a COP is totally two different animals. In a COP, you're always going to be, well, not always, but the majority of the time you're under engagement. In a FOB, you're not. Right, so understand where they came from too, because then if you understand that they're coming from a COP, then let's just throw more social workers at the SRP and not so more admin personnel to do your paperwork. Does it make any sense to you? It's like bring people that are professionals and trained to, if you ask a question of me and I
kind of beat around the bush.
Then to know that, okay, well, let me ask another question. So that's my opinion. I think that it's a simple fix. Not a simple fix, because nothing in this world is simple, and you're working at the government space, but which is hurry up and wait.
So you've already covered the fact that you think there should be safe zones
I think so.
for these
I really
veterans.
do. And I'm going to make it happen one way or another. So that's just another mission I'm going to take on.
Well, I wish you luck.
Thank you. It's going to be an uphill battle.
Lawrence has a lot of buildings that could really be used.
Yep. I think it's a good place to start. I think in the Merrimack Valley area. I think I've talked. I got some really great men and women that served in the military that they're all aboard, and let's be honest, man, I can't do this by myself. Ginny, there's just no way. Yeah, I could go and kick down doors and yell and do whatever, but if I have the support of all our veterans here and just say enough is enough, let's do something about it, it's just going to go that much further than just one person always constantly doing something. So the people that I've talked to, they're all over it, man. They and at this point, we're willing to try anything, actually, because nothing really is working, right? Those numbers are still getting, you haven't seen those numbers lowered in months and years since we come back. So what do we have to lose? What do we really have to lose? I'll tell you what we have to lose. We have a precious life that we'll lose if we don't even give it a attempt.
Is throwing money at this?
It's not the money part, though.
Well, that's what I want to know.
I don't think
as Americans, I think we tend to throw money at things and think that will be the solution.
Everything. No, I don't think it's throwing the money so much at what I think is, okay, throw the money at this for the facility. Bring 3 individuals that just think about it. If you go to each town and you hire 3 or 4 people to man that post, veterans more specifically, because they're not working and they've been through that, right? So they're going to be able to pick that up a lot faster. Maybe some of them don't want to be there because of past situations. Understandable. But there's tons of veterans in this country here that are not working. Those would be the perfect individuals for that post. They know the post. They take their post. They take their job seriously. And if it's to save another brother or sister's life, believe me, you'll have tons of people willing to go that post. So start that. You know, the only money that you're gonna have to throw this is paying 3 or 4
Right.
people there to pee around. Not even, because if it's a federal state building, give them the building, right? So it's just the funds for the operations. And maybe there's tons of people that I talk to every day that'll be willing to donate beds and couches and pillows and cases.
The
So
table
all
and
that
chairs.
table and chairs.
They can have dinner at the table.
And dinner at the table. I am never gonna live this down. It's an inside joke between me and Jeannie, but I think I passed that to someone else, and now I think we could blame somebody else.
Yeah, but it was all in the family.
It was. So don't throw a lot of money at this, because then you're gonna have all kinds of people coming from the woodworks, and I want a piece of
Yeah.
that. I want a piece
Yeah.
of that pie. No, just throw it there for the rental of the place if you need to, and the labor cost, and maybe your energy bills. But I wouldn't do anything more than that, because that's when you start throwing more money at it, then a portion of that goes to admin, and another portion
Yeah.
goes down to the, by the time you're throwing money, you're throwing about 30 cents to every dollar at the actual program, then versus everything going to that program. So throwing money at it all the time is not the answer. The answer is trying to just get out there and execute and do that. And I think if they do it, it's a start. I mean, it's better than what we're doing now. So what do we really got to lose? What do we really have to lose? So it's sad, and something needs to be done, and enough is enough. That guy that killed himself 2 weeks ago, Specialist Frankie Pica, he left behind 2 kids and his wife, and everybody thought that he was doing well, and he wasn't doing well. And it's just too bad that we didn't catch it before, because it was something that he just started going into the VA system. He just got, I think, an upgrade on his disability, up to 60%, something like that. So, and then I took pictures of all his meds that were there, and guy was taking like 300 plus meds a month as well. We got to evaluate all that, we can't, and the thing is, we can't just masquerade and keep putting, popping it or fixing this problem with medication, because all you're doing is putting a Band-Aid on the problem. Instead of working at the root of the issue, here, well, try this, and if that doesn't go away, I'll try something else. No, man, do your job. It's time for you to now to get that one-on-one with that individual, instead of sending him home with a truckload of pills. And in some cases, that's what it needs, but not in all the cases. There's no reason why someone should be taking 500 to 600 pills a month, excuse me.
No,
There's no reason for
not
that.
at
And this
all.
gentleman was at that point. It breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. It hit me to the core, to see another veteran that just took his own life in his own garage, and his kids found him. It's like, come on, man, we got to do something about it. And not that I have enough things to do, but I think this mission is going to be definitely a mission that I think a lot of people will come aboard and try to make a difference. If nothing else, I already everyone I talked to, all veterans, and they're 100% in. I haven't talked to any city officials or politicians or any type of executives or upper management in the VA or Department of Veterans. I've talked to people that have boots on ground every day, and all of them that I've talked to, they were just ready to say, let's do this.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but
Really?
answer me this question. In an ideal world,
Okay.
which we know this isn't, but what would be your first step to get this ball rolling? You personally.
I think right now is what I'm doing. Right now I'm gathering veterans around and getting the veterans back up. Because I think that instead of me going, and I'm not taking away from any politicians, because we have some great politicians. Senator Barbara Italian, she's been a champion when it comes down to veterans causes here in the Merrimack Valley, or at least in her district and across Massachusetts many times. Frank Moran, again, he's done some pretty good job with the veterans in our community, passing other bills that would help veterans, especially the Valor Act, right? So he's done that. Representative Marco DeVers, again, he's been a champion with our organization in fighting for some of the earmarked money. Mayor Dan Rivera, let's not even go. Every year on the year, he's been helping us with the, or been approving the Community Development Block Grant, which it's a blessing for us to have, and I admire and respect that very much. But I don't want to go to them. Dan is a veteran. You know, and we speak the same language, and we talk and we walk the same walk. But I wouldn't take it outside there first. I just want to sit down with other veterans and get other veterans' inputs. I'm not the only one here. I only have one head.
Right.
I say 2, 3, 4 heads, but other than one. Reach them out. Once we come up with a strategic plan, then you start lobbying this. Because once we get the stats, really good stats, because obviously everybody in this country, they just want numbers, right? So let's give you numbers. So I'm going to tell you what happens today. They came back to the day that they're in present day today. How many deaths do we have? What's the demographics on it? Where region they came from? So I think once we get that and all set, then we'll start knocking doors and bringing and lobbying this.
All right, so you've heard it. Keep that in mind. 22 to 28 veterans a day commit suicide in this country.
American soil.
That's very sad.
It is, and sometimes
Think about it. Think of what you might be able to do to help.
Swept under the rug, and it should not. This is a serious, serious, serious problem.
So we have to say goodbye for now, and
Thank
you always
you.
end the show.
Go out and make a difference in someone's life today. Thank you. We'll see you again.